Welcome to Crime Boss, where we explore the most infamous crime stories in history. Today, we're diving into one of the most shocking and gruesome events of the 20th century, the Manson family murders. Before we begin, don't forget to subscribe so you never miss a new crime story. Let's get started. The Manson family murders are one of the most infamous crime stories in America. But how did it all start? Our story begins in the late 1960s, in Los Angeles, California, a time of social upheaval and change. It was during this time that Charles Manson, a man with a troubled past, built a following. Manson was born in 1934 and spent much of his early life in and out of prison. He was known for his manipulative charisma and began attracting a group of followers, mostly young women, who were drawn to his message of rebellion and free love. Manson convinced his followers that he was a messianic figure. He believed in a coming race war he called Helter Skelter, inspired by a Beatles song. He claimed that this race war would create chaos and that he and his followers would rise to power afterward. To bring about this war, Manson began influencing his followers to commit violent acts. In the summer of 1969, Manson's followers carried out a series of murders. On the night of August 8th, Manson sent several of his followers to the home of actress Sharon Tate, who was 8 months pregnant, and 4 of her friends. The group, including Susan Atkins, Patricia Krenwinkel, Charles Tex Watson, and Linda Kasabian, brutally murdered all 5 victims. Tate and her friends were tied up, tortured, and killed. The word pig was written on the front door in Tate's blood. The victims included Sharon Tate, her friends Jay Sebring, Abigail Folger, Wojciech Frykowski, and Stephen Parent, who had been visiting. The brutal killings left the world in shock, but it didn't stop there. Just the next night, on August 10th, Manson sent his followers to another home. This time, it was the residence of Leno and Rosemary LaBianca. The murders were as brutal as the previous night, and the words Helter Skelter and Death to Pigs were written on the walls in the victims' blood. After these murders, Manson and his followers went into hiding, but law enforcement quickly began investigating, and in November 1969, Manson and several of his followers were arrested. During the investigation, the full extent of the murders and Manson's influence over his followers came to light. In 1970, the trial of Manson and his followers began. It was one of the most sensational criminal trials in U.S. history, as Manson became a media sensation. He exhibited bizarre behavior during the trial, often shouting at the judge and using his court appearances to further manipulate his followers. Manson, along with Susan Atkins, Patricia Krenwinkel, and Tex Watson, was convicted of the murders. Manson and his followers were initially sentenced to death, but in 1972, California's death penalty was temporarily abolished, and their sentences were commuted to life in prison. Manson and several of his followers remained in prison for years. Manson himself spent the rest of his life in prison until his death in 2017. Over the years, his followers were denied parole multiple times. The Manson family murders left a lasting impact on American society, raising questions about the power of cult leaders and the manipulation of vulnerable individuals. Today, the Manson family murders remain one of the most chilling and infamous stories in the history of crime. The case highlighted the dangers of mind control and how a charismatic leader like Manson could manipulate others into committing violent acts. It's a tragic reminder of how destructive unchecked influence can be. In the next video, we'll take a deeper look at the trial and the aftermath of the Manson family murders. If you found this story intriguing, don't forget to like, share your thoughts in the comments, and subscribe for more crime stories. Thanks for watching Crime Boss. See you in the next video.